the other game. So they are a team that heavily values enchanters, and they're going to go straight for it.
Oh no, it's happening. It's happening. We're going to see the Karma Center again. It's too brutal. It's already over. Champ Select's over. EDG have won. They got the Karma. They're going to pick Senna in the next rotation. And there's nothing RA can do about it. I'm sorry. Pack it up, everyone.
Yeah, we have not seen that solution solved. And for anyone wondering, we saw it the first time. BLG played it against EDG. EDG were winning that game massively. Got to a point team fights where Senna Karma just provided too much shielding and sustain to the team to where BLG were able to pull out ahead. In the next series, EDG brought that out themselves against IG. I wouldn't like this pick taken away. RA do it because the big thing when you go with things like Karma, or if they do end up picking the Senna here, is it works really well with bruisers that already have sustain built into their kit and already do so well at surviving in these team fights, and you pretty much just make them damn near unkillable. So RA gonna take the Ezreal right away, maybe thinking EDG would prefer to go for that one, and instantly gonna take away this Gwen. So we're gonna get to see a Flandre's take on what he thinks the best champions in the Gwen are, because he's been one of our prominent Gwen players so far. So you would think he does have some tricks up his sleeve for what can go into this champion.
Yeah, I mean, based on the gameplay we've seen from Flandre, he certainly knows how to play the Gwen. He's certainly played it plenty in solo queue. He'll know what it struggles versus. Some of those answers do... I've heard things like the Lee Sin have a decent matchup against it, but that's already banned, right? The Renekton's already banned. It does feel like a lot of the potential good matchups have been taken off the board already. Jiejie locks in that Udyr that we've seen so often, and already this composition from EDG, it's just so much sustain, so much shielding, so much tankiness on the side of EDG as they're going to look for long, drawn-out fights.
Now I wonder where RA goes with jungle, because, right, you have an AP soul laner already. You would assume maybe they want to go towards an AD jungler. There aren't too many AD mid lane picks left open if they do want to just go for an AP jungler as well for Leyan. They are going to opt into taking their support now, so going to have something that can engage fights. One of Hung's specialty is going to be able to roam with this Ezreal safely, able to just sit and farm in the bottom side. And now I'm looking towards, right, we're looking at jungle for RA. You would assume EDG want to try and pinch that one out. Sure, Gwen can be played in the jungle role. Theoretically, we haven't seen it just yet. I know players don't have very high opinions of her in that jungle role. And then I want to see where EDG answer the Gwen pick. We have seen Volibear come out, and Volibear can kind of survive the laning phase, and when you control the wave, because of your passive, you make it very hard for Gwen to walk up to the wave and stack or get her 4 stacks of Q. So it's been something that kind of looks like it nullifies the lane a little bit. Again, earlier on in the LCS, we had a lot of Gangplank. I don't think we'll expect that one here because Ezreal not really immobile, which is where GP does shine. And then there's whisperings of things like Kennen able to come out. I've heard some people say a Kali does fine into her, though you will struggle early levels. So there have been a bunch of different whisperings, but I feel like in laning phase, we haven't really seen anything beat the Gwen just yet in LPL.
Yeah, it does feel like a tough matchup. We've got a few bans coming through here. FoFo has his Zoe banned away from him, and the Rise and the Akali will be answered towards Scout. Silas is available. We've seen what Scout can do on the Silas, but I wouldn't be massively surprised to see FoFo lock that in as the blind pick here, just to keep it away from Scout at this point.
Yeah, that could be the answer. And, you know, one pick in the jungle that kind of slipped my mind is, you know, Xin Zhao still being something that's open, Volibear still being something that's open, that those could be routes you go as RA to fill that jungle role with things like Nocturne off the table. Kindred is there, but I think Kindred might feel a little wonky in your composition, especially up against what EDG are running, where they are playing to where they will be able to outrange you.
The Jayce locked in, which makes things very interesting here. Because Jayce usually a top laner, Gwen usually a top laner. This could well be FoFo Jayce in the mid lane here, which we have seen a tiny bit of mid lane Jayce this split. Perhaps that becomes a more prevalent lock-in as the Orianna picked up for Scout to go into that Jayce.
Yeah, and we got to remember, right, the Gwen is still a possible flex pick as well. We're going to see EDG round out with a very standard 5v5 teamfight composition. They have the Wombo combo set up. They have a ton of sustain to keep Wukong and Udyr in those fights. The Volibear right now being the thing that RA is considering. It is what we touched on, would be, I think, one of the more likely picks coming out from the side of RA that they can just put in the jungle. We've seen it up against the Udyr, you know, 50 times in the past. And to me, RA's composition a lot more skirmishy, a lot more brawly. You have a lot of champions who thrive in very broken up, chaotic fights to where for EDG, they want the more standard 5v5. So we got some time to see if EDG decide to change these picks around, or if we are going to get our first Gwen jungle.
I think it's going to happen. Like, it's Leyan. If there was any jungler in the LPL that was going to play an AP jungler that was going to find a way to make this work, it was probably going to be Leyan. This guy loves his AP junglers, loves his carries. We got a Gwen jungle on our hands. The Volibear goes up towards the top lane and the Jayce goes mid. If you saw these three locked in, it was difficult to call which direction they would go, but this is not the way around. I expected things. I'm excited for what RA have up their sleeves as they bring the Gwen jungle to the table. They're going to have their work cut out for them. I know I've said it 1,000 times, but they're healing and shielding, the shielding, if you will, from this EDG composition with the Senna and with the Karma becomes incredibly oppressive to deal with in the mid game.
I mean, I think especially once we get to the mid game, this should be very hard for RA to play. We're going to just get to see, I guess, how strong the Gwen can be with that Hollowed Mist of preventing a lot of the damage from the side of EDG coming through, right? Because you do have 3 ranged champions. Unless they're willing to get in auto rage and really let Gwen abuse you, they're not going to be able to do all too much. But I definitely like what EDG have put together. We still haven't seen this combination lose out just yet, and they are sticking with what they got. We do have Gwen coming through in the jungle.
We certainly do. Leyan bringing that one to the table as we head on to Summoner's Rift for our second series of the day, and it's going to be an exciting one. I'm curious to see what RA have to bring to the table here. The Gwen jungle coming out, the Volibear up at the top lane, and the Jayce mid, which we have seen Jayce mid a tiny bit this split, but it's not something that we'd expect, right? When you see Jayce locked in blind, you'd expect it to go towards that top lane still. But as excited as I am about this RA comp, look at the comp that EDG have for themselves. Like, if they just scale up, if they get to 5v5 team fights, what can you do? How do you beat this in a straight front-to-back fight? It's impossible, surely.
Yeah, you will have some poke coming out, right? But the fact that you do have so much shielding and healing on the opposite side makes it feel hard. There is Sunburst coming out, coming from both Gwen and Jayce, so potentially can try to take someone like Viper out of the fight at the start. And we're going to see both junglers starting towards the bottom side of the map. Jiejie going to opt into the solo start on red. Leyan does need help on the Gwen pick. One interesting thing about Gwen is you typically see her put, she still starts with E and then will go 2 points into Q before taking her W to help with her clear. So gonna try and be able to keep up with Jiejie in this early game, but still we know Gwen, it's a lot more about getting to that Rift Maker and showing up in skirmishes and team fights later on.
Yeah, so important to mention here, Meiko, 31 assists away from making his career achievement in the LPL of 6,000 assists. He would need some fairly long games here in this series to make it in this series, but it's possible. 31, that's a 15 and a 16. I can see it happening, especially with this kind of late game team fighting composition with a Karma where you're shielding everyone on your team. I can see it. It's possible there.
Look, there are some teams where it would be absolutely guaranteed to work against, but we'll see this one. And we do get a glimpse of the top lane matchup, right? One thing we need to remember is Volibear does have magic damage built into his kit with his passive. Obviously, Wukong, a champion who does extremely well up against AD users because he does get that stone skin. So Volibear is going to be able to easily take control over this this first wave state in topside.
Yeah, Volibear does very well in a lot of matchups in the early game. Oh, a little bit of an all-in on the bottom side for Punk. I'm not entirely sure he actually wanted to go for that. I think he maybe thought he missed, or I'm not sure. Bit of a weird one.
I mean, I don't know if you go for the Zenith Blade hoping you miss Munchables, but
that's true.
So far, we're already really seeing the power come out from this 2v2. One thing they are doing right is that when you're looking for those all-ins, sure, you're taking a bit of trade damage back, but you're forcing down the mana bars of both Viper and Meiko, so maybe trying to trade some HP for mana so they don't get chunked out too heavily, though. I mean, that bottom lane matchup is just completely dominant for the side of Viper and Meiko, but iBoy is being able to keep up in terms of CS.
Yeah, I mean, he's 16 up right now. Really good job of out CSing the fasting Senna. One important thing, actually, I just want to mention on that bottom lane. We do have Viper going for the grasp, very likely going for the frozen mallet build that we do see. Oh, the frozen hearts, the frozen fist, whatever that one's called. Iceborne Gauntlet, Frostfire Gauntlet. Oh my god, I managed to name that item wrong 5 times, I think. Yeah, the Frostfire Gauntlet Senna build that we've seen popularized, it's becoming incredibly strong rather than going for
Munchables. It is divine Sunderer meta. I would still expect him to. Yep.
I got it wrong 6 times.
Munchables, it happens, you know. This item just came out of absolutely nowhere and took over, so, you know, we all understand. Who even knows how much longer, you know, it will be around? It's obviously taken over with, obviously, even our top laners picking it up, and I'm going to stop saying the word, obviously, as we get back to a normal map state after EDG aren't able to find the kills on that dive.
Obviously, it'd be better if we said our crutch was less. But that, you know, it would be beautiful for you to say that less, as that one seems to be my crutch recently.
Bear in mind with me, Munchables, that, you know, right now, game is pretty much even, and we haven't seen that much.
That's true, Lyric. That is true. Let's start this conversation about the mid lane, because I do think this is a bit of a weird one. Having the Jayce in the mid lane is something that we used to see many seasons ago. Like Pawn specifically, I remember his Jayce being particularly good in the mid lane, and that's kind of where there was the meme of like Eastern Jayces being exceptional and Western Jayces not so much in the mid lane. And I do feel like FoFo, certainly mechanically talented, but can you kind of talk me through a little bit the style difference in mid lane Jayce versus top?
So, I feel like one thing that's good for Jayce overall to hit on about mid lane is Jayce used to be a champion, as we're just going to see a little bit of trading. I don't think anything should be able to come out, but Scout is 6. Scout is 6. Jayce now isn't really the same kind of lane kingdom champion that you had to be in the past, which just changes to itemization overall throughout the years. It is fine if you just sit back, kind of scale up into the mid game, because your poke will hit champions extremely hard, even now with Serelda's Grudge up against tanks. So I feel like he fits in a lot more with this meta of kind of playing towards skirmishes in the mid and late game if you do need to go into that. Works especially well if you can find some kind of AP jungler to synergize with. But still, the fact that Jayce doesn't bring really any guaranteed CC, Gwen doesn't either until 6, and you only bring soft CC in the slow, makes it a lot more awkward of a champion to fit in, because you don't really set anything up for the 2v2 for, you know, the other side of the matchup. But we do expect him to be a presence later on. Will be fine in this laning phase, as we see. I don't think he'll have any kill pressure on Orianna 1v1, and Orianna shouldn't on him either, but he won't fall behind in CS, and will have windows where he is able to push.
Yeah, looks like he's going to go for that Mana Moon as well as an Eclipse, so going with the lethality in this matchup and having an early sustain from being able to go for the Vamp Scepter while building that lethality certainly can help out, and you get the value of being a melee champ and a ranged champ at the same time. He's one of the few champions that can use and abuse those items that are either melee or ranged, depending. Here we go, Cube's in trouble. Jiejie wants to make this happen. Flandre's here trying to bait the all-in. Dodges away from a lot of the damage. The ult comes out from Cube, and he might just be in trouble here because another spin available for Flandre. But Cube's doing a lot of damage himself. Might be able to bite through the monkey, but no. The kill goes the way of Flandre. First blood goes goes to EDG.
And nice job by EDG just to abuse the lane state that Flandre had set up. They burn not only a summoner, get the kill, and they didn't have to expend anything as well, right? Sure, they used an ultimate, but no flashes had to be burned. And now we are going to see Cube lose out on some CS and EXP. He was up, so it doesn't hurt him too much. And interestingly, just quick tangent because something catches my eye, it looks like we actually have Leyan going towards the Nashor's Tooth first. From the jungle Gwen games I've seen, it's still been people just going straight towards Riftmaker, but obviously sitting on those 2 daggers right now.
Yeah, perhaps go for some attack speed, then change things up. We'll have to wait and see. Jiejie spots this out. Leyan trying to just solo the Herald sneakily, but he was spotted in the end. But I think this will still go their way. There's no contest available. Flandre is stuck underneath this tower right now, so it doesn't feel like this is anything that EDG can answer particularly. I am curious where Leyan goes with this Herald, because we don't have a ton of priority on the map outside of just cubing the top lane.
That's the thing, right? It should be very hard for them to find a window to use it bot, in my opinion, from just how the fact the lane goes. EDG's bot lane will be able to keep up the consistent push. They have TP advantage on Flandre, Cube, and FoFo not having TP up. So if any shenanigans break out in the bot lane, EDG can have numbers advantage and win out in that fight. So you expect Leyan to want to use it up towards the top side. So right now they're going to look for that window onto Flandre.
Flandre just blinks out, uses the clone to keep himself safe, but now Leyan is just going to help push and inevitably will drop that Herald, get some plates at very least. I don't think they'll be able to finish the tower, but Jiejie knows that it's going off at the top side of the map, so he will be able to go and grab himself that next Drake. And Leyan just trying to make sure that this gets 3 plates instead of 2. Looks like it did just about eke enough damage out. It's going to be a 2v1 as Flandre looks for a kill onto Leyan. No way is he going to pull this one off. Gets the second knock up. Cube trying to punish him, trying to answer for it, but he just doesn't have the damage.
Where is Nelson Munchables? He's in the chat. He's out there somewhere, and he is excited. The Flandre haters are being shut down. Really nice window by him to see that he could go for that kill. Completely wipes Leyan off the map. And, you know, on the opposite side, we see EDG punishing as well. Leyan showed for so long. iBoy might go down as well, but he does have flash.
He has flash, but just about dodges the root. That was close to a CC chain that he couldn't dodge. Flash from FoFo as well. As the TP came through from Flandre, he'll just have to leg it right up to the top lane.
A lot of action on the map happening at once, and a lot of it happening because of jungler showing. Leyan showing on that top side means that EDG can go for this play bot, and because EDG are going for a play bot and Hung realizes he can't help his AD carry, he goes and looks to try to find an advantage somewhere else, which is mid lane. They do get Scout's flash, but as you pointed out, FoFo had to burn flash in return.
Nicely done, but in the meantime, this bottom lane... Oh, actually... oh, that was a replay of what happened mid. I thought that was live action mid. I was like, oh my god, it never stops. Viper Meiko, though, look at this pressure that they have on the bottom side. Meiko out farming iBoy, who's desperately trying to get a recall off, but they already have taken almost 4 plates for themselves, just in the 2v2, with barely any pressure. Jiejie has come down to that bottom side once. Other than that, it's just been the 2v2 push, so really, really dominant bot performance. This is very much how the matchup is going to go. The Senna and Karma, incredibly impressive.
Especially I want to direct people's eyes towards the vision control on bot side. EG have done a good job of keeping that warded up, because that's one of the big things about when you pick Enchanter's bot, is that sure, you don't necessarily want to give your bot lane ganks a ton, but it does still need attention in the forms of vision control, so it can play as oppressively as it wants, so it can start stacking up that turret plate gold and get the advantage that it needs. If that doesn't happen is when you really start seeing it become susceptible to jungle ganks and 2 3v3s, because of course that's where engaged supports are much more potent.
Scout is starting to do a bit of damage himself with a QW, doing a quarter Leyan's health there. Does have some reinforcements. Viper and Jiejie waiting in the wings. Scout tries to set it up. Shockwave onto FoFo, but not really much that can be done from the rest of his team to follow that one up. Viper. Interestingly, one of the things about the Senna lanes is that you end up with a bit of a switcheroo where Meiko is the one that's going to have to stay on the bottom side, and it's Viper who gets to roam around the map a little bit. He'll be looking to follow the jungler, get those souls, stack that up as fast as possible. He's already on 45 souls as we head towards the 12-minute mark. iBoy, just about gets out of range, so he can't be rooted here. The slows are there, though. Now a TP to answer as well. Looks like it's going to be FoFo joining in the fray, but he's rooted up. Nicely done there by Viper.
Yeah, Viper's timing, absolutely insane. And even going back to your last point, right, about having to be the one to roam, playing this style, playing with this skill set is very different than your normal skill set as an AD carry. So not only able to do that and pressure the map accordingly, but just amazing timing on that W.
Kong walks away, he'll be fine. Pushing the mid lane as well, but can't really pressure for a plate right now. They need to get resets off themselves, so they need to secure the Scuttle Crab, so it does feel like RA are finding small advantages occasionally, but there's no real way for them to push anything significant off the back of it. EDG right now, 2,000 gold up. They're looking to try and finish this bot lane tower. They might just be able to do so. This 2v2 has been insane from Viper and Meiko. Even looking to chase through the jungle, and Viper just grabbing as many souls as his heart desires as Meiko sweeps these CS up. It's beautiful to see.
iBoy and Hung may be seeing Jiejie on the ward on Krugs, but at the very least they should know when Viper and Meiko start pushing forward that aggressively that Jiejie's there. Once you get the turret to that threshold of HP, it's not even about ganking or diving. You just send either more or even the same amount of members there if, you know, the enemy starts sending their jungle, mid, or etc. And you can just brute force pushing down that turret. So EDG going for a nice play on the bottom side of the map. Now it looks like they're going to look for potential plays around mid, at least hovering there, knowing that Hung went for a reset, and he should be heading towards mid as well. So if any action breaks out, EDG's members are here.
Vision going down on this bottom side as Drake spawns up in 10 seconds. And realistically, I don't think RA are going to contest for this one. As I want to revisit Leyan's build here. Is the Drake? I don't think there'll be any contest. I don't think we're going to see a fight. The Nash's Tooth has been finished and a Leeching Leer, so it looks like the Riftmaker will be the second item, so we'll go relatively standard with that second one. But having that Nash's Tooth, I suppose, does give him a lot of clear speed in the jungle, being able to just auto-attack faster. And it does synergize very well with the Gwen kit. I think this is the first item everyone thinks of when they first saw Gwen announced.
Agree, and it's the one item you see pretty much every game in solo queue. It's only here in LPL competitive matches where in our 10 games we've only seen it once so far. You already hit on how it helps with the clear for a jungler, but it's much more of a dueling item than it is, you know, for something like team fights. One other nice interaction with Gwen is your auto attack stack up your Q, your empowered Q, so it synergizes well that way. Just not something we've seen much of here in the LPL.
Hung looking for a fight. Massive engage onto Meiko, and that's a lot of sustain from this team taken off the board. The shockwave is nice, but it's not good enough as Leyan is just chasing Viper. He's going for the solo dive here. The root comes in. Scout doesn't quite have the damage. Shockwave not available, but the tower shot might help. All pushing forward. In we go over the wall. Flandre turning things around. Gets one knock up. Chasing for iBoy as well, but he doesn't want to go for the flash. Cube flashes back out over the wall as well. True Shot Barrage is there. And it's a small answer at the end of the fight from EDG.
Overall, just nice setup by RA. This is one of the advantages they will have over EDG's composition, is that with having the engage support, they can utilize windows like this. We see that Flandre was still pushing down on the top side. Volibear is hovering over now. Very decisive with the engage onto Meiko. They do have a lot of bursts coming out from Jayce and Gwen. And then Leyan following up. Does have the slow that can land onto Viper from the ultimate. Flash is over, has the 4 stacks for the bonus damage coming out from the Q, and then is able to get away scot-free until Flandre shows up, takes him down, but no one else will go down in the end. And in the meantime, Hung just said peace out and went for a nice base.
And
I don't know why that caught my eye, Munchables, but it did.
He did go for a nice base. He was very good at recalling. I have to say, that's one of my big talents. I'm very good at pressing B, heading back to base. Is, you know, not to brag or anything, I can do it on any champion. I will say, though,
absolutely
when we look
correct.
at the score, I know, man, I know. It's just not fair to my opponents. It's solo queue. Flandre has 3 kills, Mr. Lyric, and that's scary, because he already has the Divine Sundeer to stick with the anime girl theme. And he's with this Senna Karma, and sure, Meiko got caught out. Viper's caught out this time. Hung just completely locks him up, and FoFo's there to try to finish the kill. Viper gets a shield. How has he got away with that? I mean, I don't usually call plays illegal, but that's about as illegal as they come.
And I mean, that's how RA do it, right? If you can get on top of the Senna or the Karma and burst them out first, there's your avenue to winning these team fights, especially as the game goes longer and the Gwen becomes more menacing. Because we even saw in that exchange, right? The Hollowed Mist comes out, and then guess what? Viper and Meiko at least are now putting any damage onto you, but Flandre's out putting damage onto Leyan.
Flandre, he's only got 3 kills and he wants a 4th one for himself. Picks that one up easily. And now the 2v1 goes his way as the blue buff taken by FoFo. But Flandre happy to go toe-to-toe with FoFo. Happy to take that Jayce on and Leyan. The first player to bring the Gwen out in the jungle, and it is not looking too pretty right now. 1-3-1. Not the way he wanted this game to go, but with a TP in this bottom side, EDG, they'll look for a tier 2.
and they should get it. Cubis here does have the ultimate, but with 4 members of EDG here, they can't do much. You even have Meiko answering waves in mid, so not going to allow for the side of RA to just force in that one and potentially trade a turret in mid lane. Even going to turn this into a Scuttle Crab. With Dragon coming up in 1 minute, it is going to be valuable. We see him go in with the dash, just opens up the ultimate, already getting the fully stacked Conqueror, keeps going with the second charge of the ultimate, goes in with the Q to finish it off. Dawning Shadow's just there to help and stay low, not able to get the blue buff, but at the end of the day, Flandre's making Leyan's life a living hell. All 3 of those deaths coming from him.
Look, we all know what that Dawning Shadow was. It's the classic Senna play, where you suddenly realize that your top laner's popping off. He's already got one of the kills, and you're like, wait, maybe he can 2v2. I better ult this, because I need some assists in my pocket right here. That's what that Dawning Shadow was, but it was too late, Viper. You missed your chance. Now pushing in the mid lane, 4,000 gold lead. And I have to say, watching EDG, this is always the way it goes, right? Very slow, very controlled gameplay, but they always find a lead. They always find advantages in the early game. Then once they get to this mid game, with power spikes coming out, with Meiko having the 2 items, with the healing reduction there, feels very, very difficult for RA to be able to contest these Drakes.
Importantly to note, though, both AD carries don't have flash up yet. iBoy's is close, though.
Flandre is here, has his flash. His cube is forced over the wall. Leyan really wants to contest this. Viper stepping forward. That's a big chunk of damage from the Q. Smite onto the Drake. Jiejie jumping forwards. But they're all just shielded. Then the healing comes through. Flandre trying to make a play onto Leyan. Again, he really hates this little doll. Jiejie chases him down. He flashes out as his mid laner falls. FoFo dies. And EDG just... it doesn't feel like there's much RA can do about any of this.
I mean, right, you would have wanted to abuse the window where Viper doesn't have flash. You can get on top of him, but the thing is, EDG had such good setup. They were on the Dragon first. They did have vision that EDG, that RA did start sweeping out as that fight commenced. And now they're all just zoned into this one choke point. You're up against the Wukong. You're up against an Orianna. You can't walk through that. You will just instantly go down. Flandre, seeing the others go back, turns onto Leyan and FoFo. He's so far ahead, he isn't bursted out. You also have the sustain from Senna and then the shield from Meiko in the end to make sure that it can't happen. And then they're able to pick up those follow-up kills.
And I want to take a second here while EDG sets up vision around the Baron to apologize to Flandre, because, you know, since I joined the LPL, he hadn't been looking that hot. He's had a couple of rough splits back-to-back, and I was thinking, you know, maybe this guy's a little bit washed. Maybe this guy is getting towards the end of his career. I couldn't have been more wrong. Because this spring, and now summer as well, Flandre is just popping off. It feels like every single game, he's looking exceptional. His team fighting is beautiful. His pressure on the map is beautiful. He respects a lot of the time. Sometimes he does get caught out on the sideline, but generally speaking, let's be honest, this is the LPL. We have a lot of over-pushing. It's within the reasonable category. Feels like he's just having one of the best splits of his career so far. We're only a week in. Like, I'm getting a bit carried away here, but after
still
his spring, it feels like it's set up.
He's had, in each series so far, right? He had the Renekton game in their first series, the Gwen game in the series against IG, and now popping off on this Wukong. He has one game where he just absolutely took over and set up EDG for success. So to be fair, EDG were pretty much winning everywhere, but he's the one pushing the action forward and also setting up a lot of these kills. So Flandre definitely having a good split so far after being very heavily criticized last split, so maybe putting a fire under him to want to prove people wrong and also just push to Worlds. Flandre's never been to Worlds. A lot of, especially old-time LPL fans, think it's been too long, but a fight is going down.
Well, is it though? Because Hunger's flushed out and it feels like everything just disengages. And that's perfect for EDG. They want disengage. They want to just hold everyone at arm's length and keep these fights going as long as possible. This will be the top tier 2 though, because once everything is used, once that solar flare is on cooldown, feels like there's no real way for RA to punish. And the less kills, the less action this game has, the better it is for EDG.
The comp does incredibly well just standing in front of structures, right? So much range on this composition, very easily able to hit turrets. Also, an interesting thing to check in on will be, you know, how many stacks Viper is at right now. Probably should be at a pretty good number, as RA might punish Flandre, but I don't know if they have the damage to go Flandre.
Yeah, I don't know about this one. They're like, hey, I think we could 3v1 this guy. I'm not sure that they can. Hunt looks to be the first one to go down. Flandre survived. The sustain is there. Shockwave comes in as scouts arrived on the scene, and Leyan suddenly realizes he doesn't have any damage. He's got nothing he can do here. You never start a fight with the monkey when he's already got 2 items.
Oh, Jiejie want to keep going forward. Cube has flash and ult though, but it's one of those situations where, you know, you see, hey, it's a 1v2, and it takes a second for it to mentally click of like, oh wait, we've seen this numerous times. Flandre is 4-0, and he can absolutely solo them both.
Absolutely destroyed them. And the rest of EDG were on the way. That's the thing. All he had to do, he didn't have to 2v1 them. He just had to buy time. He just chose to 2v1 them while buying time. And now Baron will be on the cards. Maybe Cube can get it with a Sky Splitter. It wouldn't be the first time we've seen it today, but it's not going to happen this time. True shot barrage in. Ah, beautiful by EDG. They just wait. The observers turned off the vision just to make sure it was tense. But as always, EDG's macro is immaculate.
And that's the thing, right? EDG are one of the most, I always say by the book, but, you know, maybe that's the wrong term because, you know, comps play out differently. The book is different for how you want to play a different comp, but they're not a team in my mind that typically overforces or overextends for kills they don't need or forces action that they don't need either. They're willing to wait out the objectives, they're willing to set up their waves, get the vision down, and then look for the plays. You know, it's very standard. And it's one of the reasons why they feel like one of the teams that in spring didn't drop as many games to bottom teams or was harder to envision them doing that than obviously teams like Top Esports or IGs or RNG didn't, but I still feel like I would be theoretically less surprised if they did, just because of how they play.
Well, here we go. Soul for EDG. And Lyric, I'm not gonna lie, this is feeling like a fun game.
85 Munchables.
You know,
85
Meiko,
souls.
if Meiko can get another 30 assists in this series, he'll have 6,000 assists. But I'm not sure that that's going to happen since he's on 1 from this first game, and it feels like it's about to end. Yeah, I think he might be a way away from that milestone. If EDG plays like this every single game, he's not going to get the next 30 assists over the next split entirely. And now the siege continues in the bottom side. This will be a second in him taken by the looks of things. As EDG get to just push this one home. And RA, I think they're well aware that there's nothing they can do about this. The 10,000 gone down. Hung going to be locked up and take down. Shockwave goes in. That's 2 kills already as they turn it into more shields across the team. Jiejie walks out with his life. Cube goes down as well. And they make it look easy. Scout with a shield bigger than his health bar. And now onto the Nexus turrets go EDG. You think it's all over, and ladies and gentlemen, it is now. EDG with the most comfortable showing of maybe any LPL game with the split so far. That was brutal.
And EDG showing that, hey, maybe there's another must-ban champion against them. Whether it's the Karma or the Senna, you know, whichever part of the duel you want to take off the table, probably would be the Karma because I feel like it enables more picks. Might be a must-ban against EDG. They've now done it twice. They've looked extremely strong on it both times. And then, I mean, the rest of the map just performed, right? Scout absorbed the pressure from the first few waves, got to, you know, level 5, level 6. He started being able to control the mid wave just with how instant his combos are. We don't even need to talk about Flandre. Flandre showed us what he was capable of. And the whole time Jiejie was there, kind of facilitating it all as a jungler, was able to take the first dragon, go up towards that Rift Herald and start contesting that, looking for plays early on, fighting with RA. So EDG doing a really good job of bringing it all together, and I feel like you just hit on it so well, right? They just played the map. They just knew what they should be doing. They played for bot lane turret first, rotate that siege tool across the map, and RA never really had a chance to do anything.
I just want to say, it's not relevant to the topic. Those LPL branded Hanfus looking tight on the desk. My boy Teddy repping that. Looking clean, I have to say.
No one sees that, Munchables. No one sees that.
I think they do. I'm pretty sure they do. I'm pretty sure. Or maybe they don't. Maybe I'm just an idiot. Maybe you guys can see my face, in which case, hello. I'm not wearing an LPL branded Hanfu. But they are on the Chinese side, and I can see that on my screen. And that's in theory the program feed, so I don't know. Anyway, moving on, in case you couldn't see it. Very strong game from EDG, as we've said 100 times in a row now. All right, a little to be desired. This does feel a bit like draft difference, though, right? At the end of the day, like, I just don't think you can have I don't even think it's an EDG thing. I think you just can't let Senna Karma through. I think it's just too strong.
Oh, Munchables is leading the charge on Senna Karma being unplayable. Well, playing against it is unplayable. I'm still open to seeing if it can be solved by the, enemy squad somehow. Again, maybe more aggressive early game drafting and trying to shut down the game from there. That was how you would take down things like Senna Tom Kench back in the day when it did come out, or so on and so forth. So, yeah, this game, RA coming out with a really brawly, skirmishy composition, not able to find it, not having the winning lanes to even be able to set it up. We see Leyan bring out the Gwen jungle, just gets absolutely abused, especially when he did go for these timings of ganking mid or playing around top, and it's like, well, Flandre sees an angle to where you just drop Herald, he can still kill you and just completely ignore Cube, so didn't have a fun time on that one, and we never really get to even see this composition brought together. But like you're saying, at least to me, the RA's composition is a lot weirder, where again, it's just so brawly, it's so skirmishy. It's not necessarily 5v5 oriented. There's a lot of skill expression in this setup when you do have a Jayce, a Gwen, and Ezreal. People can't be missing abilities, and if they do, then the fights would be over from there. But we never got to see the game get to that point, so it didn't even really matter. The laning phases in the early game, too oppressive from EDG this time around.
Yeah, I'm a little bit sad as well that this Gwen jungle fell so flat in this first game, because I'm excited about the concept of a Gwen jungle. I do feel like you need setup in your lanes, things like that Renekton, to be able to guarantee that a game can work out. We'll have to see if more Gwen jungle comes our way over the course of the LPL, but we're going into a quick break, and we'll be back with game number 2 of this